Every single disease known to man, and I hate the word disease, but since y'all identify with it, I'm gonna say it. But there's not one disease that I know of that exists that's not associated or connected with a parasite. And what I mean by parasite, I'm talking about a living, multi-dimensional entity that can pleomorphosize itself, meaning it can change and shapeshift its shape and size depending on the condition of your terrain or your body. And when it poops, it creates something called autointoxication. And the toxins that these things leave over give you all types of symptomatic drivers that give you symptoms. And then you go to the doctor, and instead of them checking you for parasitic infection, they literally just give you a label and call it disease. There is no disease that you can truly name or that they have titled as a disease that is not parasite driven. Now, am I saying that these parasites are causing disease? I think that the terrain happened from an acidic side first. First, you come into contact with processed foods, or you come in contact with environmental pollutants. You eating things that you're not supposed to be eating. You smoking, you drinking, you bringing some type of toxins in, and then you're not getting rid of the toxins by detoxifying. The body starts to corrode and go through a state of what you will call oxidation, where your cells begin to rust. And through this rusting process, if you're not bringing in any electrons or bringing in any alkalining agents to help alkaline the body, to bring the body in a balance of homeostasis, what happens is you start depriving the cells of oxygen. You start making homes and start making a bedding for things to live inside of you. I tell people all the time, you can't miss the parasites. They're going to come. They come through water. They come through spring water. They come through fresh water. They come through river water. They come through ocean water. They come through your soil. A lot of us like the ground, so you can get hookworms and roundworms and pinworms just by walking and grounding. They come through skin to skin contact, like for instance, what you will call herpes dermatitis, which is a form of herpes, but is actually a fluke worm. It's called a hemorrhoid. You can get them from eating, especially eating certain types of meat, like for instance, trichonellia. Trichonellia is a worm, a roundworm parasitic that come from eating pork, come from eating chicken, come from eating cows, come from eating even sheep, or what you would call lamb. So you going to get parasites. When it comes to America, we don't get on a quarterly parasitic cleanse. So we let these parasites build up in us. Then they start infesting us. And it goes through something called larva migration, where they start producing all of this larva, and they go through their sex cycles and start producing eggs. And then these eggs get into the system. They start messing up the signaling. Because I told y'all last time that most of the signals that come from the eggs are estrogen and progesterone and testosterone like. Just like you have sexual chemistry and sexual hormones, these parasites that's inside of you have the same things. These things drive up your hormone markers, and they start making your glandular highway, what I'm going to call the endocrine system, out of whack. This drives and proliferate tissues. This called tumor genesis, where tumors begin to form. It also causes cysts, where you start seeing cysts pop up everywhere. Most of the cysts that's inside of your fallopian tubes, the cyst that's on the endometrium lining of your cervix, women, the cyst that's on the prostate when your prostate becomes swollen, the cyst that's in these different areas are actually parasite nest. Hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes mellitus, hyperglycemia, which is another parasitic hemorrhoid fluke worm. It's called Eurytrema pancreaticum. Eurytrema, and it's a fluke worm that lodges itself inside of the pancreas. It causes these inflammatory responses, and it chews on what you would call the tissues and the islands of Langerhans that makes the alpha cells and makes the beta cells. We know that the alpha cells produce glycogen hormone, and we know that the beta cells produce the insulin hormone, which help you utilize and bring sugar inside the cell. So this is what you would call the life cycle of trichinella. You can get trichinella from your beef. You can get it from your pork. These parasitics come with a certain form of intelligence. The more you try to kill them, they go through stages of evolution where their bodies will adapt and they can live longer. Always look at a parasite as an entity that needs you as a host to experience reality. This roundworm causes high blood pressure. When you eat pork, or when you eat beef, or when you eat all of these meats, what happened is these meats have a cyst on it. When you look at a cyst, it's nothing but an encapsulated parasite larva egg. Well, these fibrin tissues are made of protein coat, so it's very hard to break down. So even if you get the meat, and they have cysts on them, and you say, well, I'm just going to wash them real good, which you can't really wash them off because they're embedded in the tissues of the flesh. And then you say, well, I'm going to fry it or cook it to high heat. It is hard for the heat to actually penetrate the cyst to get to the larva eggs of Trichinella because of this hard fibrous mesh around it. So you end up eating it. Once you eat it and your hydrochloric acid in your stomach break it down, then it is released. It's get released into something called the duodenum. Once it get released inside the duodenum, it get picked up. It's called paresis. Paresis is when they use food as a transportation to get to you because they need to feed off of your blood. So once it gets into the bloodstream, it migrates its way to the liver. It's called larva migration. The larva matures inside the small intestines. It starts releasing all of its eggs inside the liver, which causes an inflammatory response. The liver uses glutathione and flush it back into the bloodstream. It raises what you would call your calcium markers, produced by calcitonin, which is coming from the parathyroids, because calcium is known as a buffering alkalining agent. Whenever you see acids, you're going to see calcitonin be released by the parathyroid. The parathyroid will release phosphorus and calcium from the bone calcium matrix. Calcium then comes into the bloodstream, and since it's an electron donor, it fuses with anything that's acidic, and then it literally becomes a donor and let the acidic proteins or the acidic medium accept the electron where it can neutralize itself, because that's what protons do. Protons are basically off balance and they missing the electron, so they need to be balanced out. It won't be inside the cell going crazy, causing rapid damage, or what you would call ROS, reactive oxidative species, and burning and rusting out the cells. So it need to borrow a negative charge for it can balance itself out, where it won't be so hostile when it's in the tissues. So what help it do that is actually calcium. It solidifies. Not only do it solidifies, but it irritates what you would call the mucosal membrane. So since it's irritating the mucosal membrane, you have calcium, you have acids, and then you have mucus covering it up. This creates these crystals. So these crystals bring on an inflammatory response. This release something by the kidneys and the adrenals called acetylcholinesterase, released by the adrenals and the kidneys, and it makes you move your lymphatic system. And now these things are in the lymphatic system and they make their way to the kidneys. About time it finally make it to the kidneys, it opens up. They start chewing on all the tissues inside the kidneys, right? They start chewing on the nephrons inside of the kidneys. They spitting up all of this acid, and this acid starts breaking down the filtration tissues in the kidneys. Now the nephrons inside of the kidneys are inflamed. This is called nephritis. So since nephritis have taken place in the kidneys, this is automatically going to raise your diastolic pressure. Because remember, when you look at blood pressure, the top part is called what? Systolic. That's supposed to be 120. The over 80, diastolic. 120 over 80, systolic, diastolic. The top part is always the adrenals. The bottom part is always the kidneys. Well, if you got something in the kidneys and it's messing with the potassium and salt and water ratio, and it's not getting out all of the actual urine because you're blocking flow, because everything is inflamed, because you have these foreign larvae encapsulated cystic eggs inside of there, this raises your blood pressure. Now we have to talk about schistosoma. When your white blood cells are real high, especially your eosinophils, usually you have trichinella or you have schistosoma. And the way you can find out, just get you some blood work, and on your blood work, it's called a full comprehensive metabolic panel. Get a what you would call a full CBC, a complete blood chart, complete blood count. I want you to scroll down to what you would call WBC. The white blood count is high. That means that the body is under attack. When a white blood count is low, that means that the body is under attack and is actually losing. Then you go to the lymphocytes. The lymphocytes is LYM. You see the percentage is at 30, which is in its normal range. It's below 20, then that means it's getting attacked. And if it's too high, then that means you're suffering from some type of infection. The monocytes are these big white blood cells. Monocytes are humongous, especially when we do our blood analysis. But what I want to focus on is the EOS. EOS stands for eosinophils. Whenever the eosinophils is high, that means you have a parasitic infection, but your body is producing a bunch of eosinophils to engulf them and basically degrade them down to bring them to the lymphatic system, to get them to the lymph nodes, to degrade them down more, to get them to the kidneys where you can urinate them out. That's the microscopic parasites. But if you got the big ones like the tapeworms and things like that, what they do is they start attaching these antigen markers in them, and it paralyzes the parasites and you poop them out. And that's when your eosinophils is high. Now, when you look at the basophils is the BAS. When the BAS is high, that means that you have a parasite, you're having a bunch of allergic reactions to the auto-intoxication that's coming from the parasites. The main things that you're going to be concerned with is your eosinophils, your basophils, your white blood count, your lymphocytes. That's what you need to pay attention to. If they low, that means they depleted. You done lost the fight. We have to rebuild your immune system. But if they high, that means you have a parasitic infection and you need to do something about it, which is do a parasite detoxification. And you can do that through 3 herbs. It's the same thing that's actually made with the ivermectin. These 3 pack a major punch. It's green walnut hull. Green walnut hull, not the black one. Green walnut hull. If you grow green walnut hulls, get them from your trees, crush them up, put them in some alcohol or put them in some glycerin and make your own tinctures. You're going to take a whole pipette of those 3 times a day. In the rising, in the evening, and before you go to bed. Wormwood leaf. Make sure that you get it when it got a lot of chlorophyll in there, when it's very, very green. I would take that as an actual tea. I do the tea twice a day, in the rising and right before I go to bed. All right, green walnut hull, wormwood, and the last one is fresh cloves. I will get fresh clove powder. I would do 1,000 milligrams and I take 3 of those a day. And make sure that you're using activated charcoal or you're using some type of clay to be a binder. That way you don't have a strong die-off, and you know the toxins, when they reach the bloodstream, you won't feel like you're dying. Always take them with a binder. But you can start drawing them out too by mixing cinnamon. Put cinnamon in there to actually draw them out, because cinnamon will bring them from the tissues, because they like to lodge themselves in the tissues and they like to hide. A lot of them like to hide in the bladder, like to hide in the urethra. You start seeing all these reproductive compromising diseases, they automatically go after the symptomology, but they never think parasite because they're not reading your blood work. If they read your blood work properly, and if they put you on a parasitic cleanse and tell you to wash the toilet, then most of the times you see them. You are going to poop out so many worms, it will blow your mind, and it won't kill your liver, and it won't stress your kidneys like ivermectin do. Ivermectin, yes, do it gets rid of cancer? I've been seeing a lot of promising cases, I can't lie. Do it kill parasites? I've never seen a drug kill parasites like no other. But the actual side effects is just not worth it. The side effects from ivermectin and from all of these different animal dewormers is really messing up people's kidneys. They ALTs, they ASTs is going through the roof. They liver enzymes is going through the roof after they've been on it a month, and then it's starting to mess with people's kidneys too. So there's a very, very big wave of everybody using these drugs, but within the next year or two, we're gonna see a bunch of lawsuits coming out from these things, because a lot of people's livers and kidneys are gonna start shutting down because of it. When Yahweh created these natural remedies that's in nature that you can go pick yourself. And I do not want y'all to sleep on cat's claw. Neem leaf and cat's claw, or some other ones that will wipe parasites, and y'all can mix these in equal parts with y'all wormwood and take it as a tea. Now the thing with cat's claw though, cat's claw will have you itching out of this world.